Well, good morning. So I had a little free time this morning and we went to some thrift stores and some garage sales Friday before Sabbath. And I had a good find that I wanted to share with you. And then I said, well, maybe I can share some of the other books that I've gotten at the resale shop and just kind of give you an idea of what type of stuff we buy. You know, we do have a resale shop, so none of these that I'm going to show you today are for sale, but sometimes we do find a book here and there that we want to sell either on the internet, in our shop, etc. So anyway, so this is the book that actually caught my attention that I wanted to share with y'all. This is Rashi's commentary on the Psalms. Rashi is perhaps one of the most famous, if not the most famous, commentators on the Torah. He lived in France in the 11th century, and there's several parts of this book that give history, etc. on him. And basically, Rashi's method is to dissect every single word as you go through the Bible. His interpretations, his commentaries are so important that if you look at the thumbnail, there's a light blue area over on the right-hand side of the page, closest to the margin, of the Talmud, where Rashi's commentaries go. So anyway, kind of interesting there. I didn't realize you're seeing my socks. Anyway, that's all right. I wear socks too. So anyway, I really like that particular book, and I think that's a good find. I think that cost me 50 cents. It's probably a $50 book. In fact, I think I Googled it, and it was over 50. So let's look at some of the other books. This one is the Digest of Divine Law. It's basically an interpretation of the law, and it's actually quite good, even from a Jewish perspective, in that it was not written by a Jew. You know, sometimes the Christian commentaries can go a little bit away from what Jewish belief is. So anyway, that kind of takes us to the Jewish New Testament. This is actually by David Stern, and I would say that it is a book about, or it is a translation that is intended to perhaps make the New Testament a little less, shall we say, abrasive, a little less foreign, etc., for Jews who might potentially want to become Christian. That's how I see its intent. I may have completely misunderstood its intent, and if I did, I apologize to the author. It's a good book, though. I've actually read a little bit of it, and it gives us, you know, some perspective as to the Jewish perspective back then. This should not be confused with the annotated Jewish New Testament, where Dr. Amy Jill Levine goes through the entire New Testament and kind of reworks it, respins it from a Jewish perspective. And its intent is to actually get Jews to read the New Testament, but arming them with what they need to know, such that it becomes a ancillary reading to their life, rather than a takeover, so to speak. I always use the, you know, Paul talks about Christianity being a hybrid, I think is the word. That's not the exact word, but anyway, you know, you can graft it. There we go. You can graft in two ways. You can graft like they do with a tangerine and an orange and make a tangelo, which is a hybrid. Or you can, so the original fruit is still there, It's just a hybrid on the original fruit. Whereas the other way of grafting is like they do orchids, and basically the orchid completely kills the plant that it is grafted onto. So I always ask my Christian friends which way they're grafted. Talking about Amy Jill Levine, she, I think, edited this book, which is the New Oxford Annotated Apocrypha. It's a real good book. My grandfather, of blessed memory, left me his Apocrypha from many years ago, and it's really, of course, cherished. This one, I believe she may have edited. No, she didn't edit it. Anyway, she wrote some in it. She's one of the contributors, but there you can see the contributor list there. And I misspoke, and it is actually edited by Michael D. Cogan. Anyway, it's a good book if you're interested in the extra biblical works. These would include a lot of the Greek scriptures. Some of them are quite interesting. You know, Jesus knocking his friends dead and then reviving them. I don't remember which book that's in. But also the books of the Maccabees that tell the story of the Hanukkah story. The family in the Bible, this is actually more of a dictionary of different people and what they did. And I really like it. It's a good book. The Complete Dead Sea Scrolls in English. This is another. If you've ever read, in fact, last year, I have another Dead Sea Scrolls book. And I read the Torah portions in, excuse me, I got a frog in my throat today, in the Dead Sea Scrolls for a year. And I really enjoyed that. Moving over a little more secular, we run into the art of biblical narrative. This is basically how the narrative is artfully, now I've got to use one of his words, artfully strung together. It's interesting. I haven't gotten that far into the book. And I'll be honest with you, a lot of these I collect, and I'll pick them out one day and read a little bit on it, and then move on to something else. Any of you that have been following me for a while know that's true, because I do that with some of my teachings as well. We did the Siddur, and then we moved on to this, and then we moved on to that. And then I thought this was a really good book. It's The Other Side of History, Daily Life in the Ancient World. Now, it is written by a Christian, and I don't want to sound like I'm saying that's a problem, because it's not. But you can tell by the way that he writes about Christianity and a little bit about Judaism that his slant is from a Christian perspective, and there's nothing wrong with that. But it does it's one of the great courses that you can get online, and I guess this was the book that went with it. And it does give a good outline of what life was like for Jews in the first temple, in the first century, and also about the Christians around the same time. And then completely secular, interesting, is Original Intent. This is the Courts, the Constitution, and Religion. I don't know what his slant is yet. I've not even cracked the book, but it looked interesting. I have another book over on my bookshelf. It's talking about how the Supreme Court was going wild, and that was written 15 years ago. So I guess some things don't change. The Happy Hypochondriac, who could pass that up? I think it was a $2 book, but who can pass that up for $2? Once again, I've only thumbed through it. And last, we're going to look at Schott's Miscellany. This is just a book that talks about what was happening in 2009. It tells about, it's an almanac, and it tells about who the bigger celebrities were at the time, ranks them in 1 to 10 and that type of stuff. And it's just very interesting. So anyway, I'm going to work on Rashi's commentary on the Psalms. and that's going to be my next study. I'm not going to put that online. I just really don't have time to do so. Sorry about still being in my pajamas and showing you my socks. But I really just don't have time these days. I'm so busy at work. But I did want to share these with you, and I hope you enjoyed it. If you've got any interesting books that you've read and you want to slap a picture in there or the name on the in the comments, I'd be happy to read it. And hope everybody has a great day. Thanks for listening.